like what it consists of. Like, how did you prove your talent?
which is kind of global talent or talent visa for someone.
And where do you work right now? Can you give me some details on your current job?
Something like design studio where they
Hi, everyone. Welcome to WelcomeTech. And today we have Nikita Smolyanchenko with us, who is a holder of the Global Talent Visa and who will share his experience. So the first question I have for you is, when you decided that you want to work in another country, out of all the countries, why did you choose UK? And out of all the options on how to move, why did you choose Global Talent?
when I was thinking about moving to another country, I think it was my main deciding factor. I was thinking about the place where I can develop my career the best. So London and UK in general is kind of the best place in Europe where you can develop your career. So I was considering only Europe because my family lives in Europe, and I just want to be able to travel with a certain level of comfort. So it was an obvious choice actually. So you have plenty of options here in Europe as well. So you can pick Germany, for example, France or Italy. UK seems like the best option because it has the highest concentration of fan companies, of startups, and if you try to explore the industry, you will find out relatively soon that almost every successful startup they have UK's registration. So it's kind of an obvious choice where you want to build your career. And it was my actually one only one deciding factor that I just want to improve and I want to make. I'd like to make an impact, and yeah,
So I lost you somewhere when you finished answering the first part of the question of like why
yes.
UK? Yeah, and so for the next part,
So there are plenty of options. So you can pick, for example, skilled worker visa, or if you have higher education or you're a recent graduate, you can decide to go with this path. But actually, comparing them, global talent visa has too many advantages over all other types of visa, and it has the shortest path to indefinite permit to stay and to citizenship. So I decided to try this visa. Actually, I learned about this visa approximately 3 years ago, and I decided that okay, I'm going to move sooner or later. So I'm going to start building up my case. So I was actually working for this case for maybe 2 years, trying to participate in as many activities as possible. So I actually learned about this visa first, and I decided that I wasn't prepared at the moment. So I have to start working on this visa because I didn't want to be connected to my employer. I didn't want to be dependent on them, and I didn't want to wait for 5 years to have this indefinite permit to stay. So I just wanted the best visa, and yeah, it was and actually I think it is the best visa right now for a skilled worker or someone working in IT or tech. So
when you said build up the case, I felt like you're a lawyer defending someone in court. That's pretty cool. So it took you 2 years to really like develop a full packaged portfolio, right? Can you walk me through like what it consists of? Like, how did you prove your talent?
for example, compare it to the same visa in the United States. When we talk about this kind of visa, which is kind of global talent or talent visa for someone, it is very different from the United States. Because if I would like to go there, I would definitely need to hire a lawyer and build up this case, as you mentioned. But I was actually able to do everything myself, to prepare documents and do everything. It was very hard, actually. I spent so much time learning things about how to arrange everything, how to format these documents, how it should look like. Because actually, for the UK, it is very subjective part. So you have to prove somehow that you are special. I don't know. It's okay to say that UK needs you more than anyone else. So you have to prove that you are a talent, and the criteria are kind of, they're not so strict, so you can prove it however you want. So you have only 10 documents, there is a limitation, so you have to prove it using only 10 documents. When I learned about that, I decided that, okay, now I'm just a software engineer. So most of my experience is just software engineering. So I've been doing apps, mobile apps, mostly for 5 years now. And I decided that, okay, being just a good software engineer is not enough. So I need to do something unique, or I need to be recognized. So I decided to say yes to more things, to more opportunities. So, for example, in these 2 years, I was working for a startup with Google engineers. I was trying to take responsibilities in my current job. So I was just trying to be outstanding where I was at the moment. So I was just trying to do my best to just prove that I'm worthy. Moreover, I decided that, okay, just doing your job is not enough. So you have to do something above your or besides your current occupation. It's just one of these, doing something that can lead to improvement of the overall industry. So in my case, I was trying to teach people. I joined programming courses as a tutor, and I participated in interviews for this programming school, which led to overall growth of their client base, because this interview was really successful. It was really motivational and inspirational video. So it became their most viewed interview on the channel. And it was kind of significant, one of these, proofs or evidences of me being a talent. It's so hard actually to explain that, because I'm trying to be modest, and it's very hard because speaking to this tech nation, you have to prove that you're talented, that you are exceptional, and you can't be humble doing that. You should be you should be very,
It's
very
difficult to
brave,
say
actually.
I'm incredible without sounding non-humble. I
Yeah,
can't.
that's right. That's right. I would say milestone, because before that, nobody knew about my existence in Belarus, for example. And this interview, it had like, I don't know, maybe 20,000 views. And for Belarus, it is kind of cool, actually. So it was a very popular video. And it led to another interview for one of the biggest news sites in Belarus. It's kind of one of the main media in our country. And they decided to interview me to ask questions about, okay, if you have to start all over again and you have to pick only one uh, industry, or you have to pick one specialization, what it would be. And I was advocating for iOS development, because it's relatively easy to start earning money with iOS development, and I'm kind of iOS advocate in Belarus, so I was trying to prove my point. And it was a great interview as well. It had, I believe, 60 or 70,000 views, so it was significant
Wow.
as well. And yeah, these two were great selling points, actually, for my case, I believe. And yeah, after that, I am not sure if you're familiar with the political events in Belarus. And after the latest elections in Belarus, there were protests and repressions and everything. And lots of my compatriots, they were suffering on their governmental jobs, and they wanted to leave it and to be independent. And I decided to start my own free programming courses for my compatriots. I don't think that it was the perfect experience for them, but they learned new things. I was doing my best because actually I was at the moment I was trying to find a new job, and it was very
Chaotic.
hard moment. Yeah, very chaotic. Yeah, that's correct. But building something that is not building something free, building something that can lead to the improvement of the whole industry, because you teach more people, and there are more people in the market, more developers to work with to start new businesses and everything. So it was definitely helpful as well. I had few recommendation letters from my students.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
one of my students, he was already a senior Android developer in his company, and by the time I was building up my case, he became head of mobile of Alpha Bank Belarus, which was kind of cool as well. That I was teaching head of mobile of a big bank. Yeah, so just some of these were pure luck. So some of these things, I believe, but I was just trying to find something I can do to really improve myself, to improve the industry as well. Because actually, it was my purpose. I really wanted to teach someone. I wanted to share knowledge. I wanted to help my compatriots. And as a side effect of these actions, when I moved from Belarus to Ukraine, and I was forced to move from Ukraine to Georgia because of the war. The war has started, and I had to move from Ukraine to Georgia, and I decided that okay, I think it's time to move somewhere permanently, and hopefully now my case is good enough. I decided to ask a lawyer about the state of my case. We had this conversation with one of these, I don't know exactly how can I call him. I think he's kind of a relocation lawyer or something like that. So he was actually working for the company, helping people to relocate with global talent visa as well. So at the moment, I didn't know exactly how to prove everything, how to build up the case itself. So there were some evidences, there were some achievements, but I wasn't sure if it was enough. So his verdict was that okay, it can be considered as an exceptional promise, because there are two grades of this
Oh,
global
yeah.
talent visa: promise and talent. And because at the moment I didn't have full 5 years of experience, I was actually eligible for this exceptional promise visa. But after this consultation, I did my research, finding out that actually I have pretty good network. I was able to find people I was working with who are senior or C-level managers in their companies. So actually, I decided, of course, to apply for this exceptional promise visa. But it happens rarely, but it happens. And they actually promoted or upgraded my visa to exceptional talent because of how good my case turned out to be. So it's kind of cool as well. So my research was pretty good, I believe. So
That's quite a journey. That
yeah.
literally sounds like a movie plot. That was quite an adventure, and I think it's pretty.
It
The
was.
interviews part, the fact that like you also had like a media presence, I think that's pretty cool. That may have
Yes.
been like an important factor to the visa. So yeah, that was you build up quite the case. But what like now that you live in UK, you're based in London, correct?
Yeah,
Or
that's
yeah.
correct.
And where do you work right now? Can you give me some details on your current job?
So I work for Infosys. It's kind of very big company. They have approximately 300,000 employees right now. And if you're familiar with the current political state of the United Kingdom, the current prime minister, his wife, she's a daughter of founder of this Infosys company. So now we are pretty close to the UK government. So it's kind of famous company right now, and they have their offices all over the world. But in London, they have something like design studio where they create user experiences, as they say. So it's kind of consulting thing. So I'm kind of consulting apps on design and user experience and everything. So technically, I'm a senior iOS developer right now, so technically, but my contract says that I am experience manager. So it's a strange position actually.
So technically,
Yep.
you like consult UI UX designers and like companies that develop apps.
Technically, if you're a company and you're struggling with the user experience and your clients are suffering from your application, here we are. We can help you create a pleasant experience. And yeah, so my area of responsibility is to make sure that actually technical state of your application is also user experience, because if the application is slow, if it crashes, or if you have bugs, for example, it is very annoying. So we have designers mostly, because to present it to the client, you have to create beautiful mock-ups. You have to create something that looks great. But my part is to make sure that technically everything that they had presented to the customer, that it's working, that
Yes.
it is actually possible to implement, and that it is working on every device, every platform, and so on. So I'm responsible for iOS and Apple side of things. So there is also Android, web, and everything. So I'm responsible for iOS part of this journey.
So like if it looks good but it glitches, it's still not good. So you're responsible for
Of course,
the
because
technical.
if it is the most beautiful application, you will not use it as a customer
Yeah.
if it is crashes, for example,
I mean,
from
yeah,
the very
fair.
beginning. So yeah.
So you don't really do handwork anymore. You're more of like a corrector, right? Like you
I
don't
do
write your
actually.
own. You do.
So yeah, it's kind of that's why I said that it's hard to explain actually. So I still write code, but part of my job is also to discuss things with other stakeholders. So there are designers, there are business intelligent team representatives. So there are multiple different teams, and we all have to communicate to first decide what are we going to do, and then implement it. So implementation is also on me. So I'm
Oh,
writing
okay.
code as well as
Yeah.
communicating and guiding this.
So it's, I mean, it does sound like a huge and very influential company. So I guess I understand why you chose it, but I still want to ask what other opportunities you had, like maybe like before you chose this company. I mean, like what else was there for you in London before you made up your mind?
Actually, I can't say that I decided to join this company because of its name or because of the project. I think that mostly I decided um, to pick this one because of the team. The team is just great. Infosys is a very big company, and you have to be sure that you will work with the right team, and it is something that influence your day-to-day work a lot. So you have to enjoy your work, and communication is a significant part of your day. So it's important. And I had interviews with oh my god, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 different companies.
Whoa.
Yes, so I was trying to be very picky because I decided that if I will move to London, I will need the biggest possible salary, and it wasn't easy. So it's very hard when you are targeting to the very top of the market in terms of salaries. So if you're targeting, I don't know, top 5 or top 3% of salary market, you're in trouble. So you will spend uh, too much time negotiating and trying to understand whether this company, whether they're willing to pay you more than anybody else, or are they willing to pay you enough to cover all your expenses. So it wasn't easy actually, and being interviewed by 15 to 20 companies. They were startups, they were very big companies. For example, I was um, interviewing to Bloomberg. So they're really cool and quite strange experience, but overall pretty good. So I believe few crypto startups, a few banks, several companies that were not related to iOS development at all. For example, I was interviewing for Sony or Xbox. I don't really remember actually. So one of these gaming companies, but I didn't pass their initial step just because I wasn't the best fit for this role because I didn't have relative experience. So yeah, very different companies. I can say that I haven't seen anywhere such variety of domains and I don't know, work styles and teams, and they're all very friendly. They are all very diverse. So they're it is such a cool experience actually. So yeah, being on the market looking for a job.
You really went into all tracks. Like you really tried all kinds of spheres of the industry, which I think is pretty cool. It
Yeah,
means
that's
that
right.
like you really felt what was best for you, which is nice. Like for the last, like sum up our conversation, I was gonna ask you something a little less professional and a little more fun, and I
Okay.
wanted to know what are the pros and cons for you personally? Like, what are the best things about living in London, and what are the worst things about living in London?
Let's start with few drawbacks I faced here. So first of all, of course, it's cost of living. So it is very expensive, especially nowadays with a crisis with three different prime ministers in 2 months. So it's kind of it's not the best time to move to the UK, especially when I moved. But the overall, kind of the experts predict that it's going to end relatively soon, and actually, tech industry wasn't affected that much. I think that I faced this price increase, especially in real estate market, so it was very hard to find a flat. I didn't expect that, but uh, it was possible actually. So the overall increase was about 10%. It was already very expensive, so 10% more isn't that big of a deal. So it's fine. And salaries actually they're they're increasing as well. So it's kind of balanced. So it's fine. But it was I believe for me it is the main drawback and the main con is that it is relatively expensive to live here, but there are so many pros actually. So I enjoy living in London. I really like that you can find literally anything here. So in my opinion, it's one of the best cities for work-life balance, just because you can adjust your lifestyle to your needs. You can find smaller villages inside the city, and you will be like 13 minutes away from the center of the city, and you can pick the lifestyle you want. You can live on a very busy street in the very center in the city, or you can find a smaller townhouse somewhere in just 30 minutes away from the center. And the transport is pretty good. which is which allows you to be creative in your lifestyle. The city itself, it is very comfortable for walking, for cycling, and it's great. So I didn't expect it to be that much of a difference compared to Minsk or Kiev, for example, where you feel like you need a car. But here, I was actually thinking about getting one. But after a while, I decided that I'm okay. It's very comfortable. You can move by tube or bus, or you can just walk or cycle, and every option is comfortable, fast, and yeah, it is expensive. For example, if we compare tube, for example, to the underground in Kiev or Minsk, it's like it costs about 10 times more than underground in Minsk. So it's it's kind of expensive, but still it is very comfortable. It is, the quality of life is affected very much by this opportunity to walk anywhere and to cycle anywhere you want, and you can find any kind of tech here. I'm a big gadget fan, and I just like buying things, buying tech things, and you can find anything here. It is very, very dangerous for your budget planning, but especially during Black Friday or Christmas sales. But if you need something for work or for pleasure, I don't know, you can find anything, and it's great. Yeah, so I just overall I really like the city. I didn't expect it to be great.
It's, I mean, as long as your salary balances out everything that you buy, you're fine. I think as long as it sort of catches up to your tech love. And
of course.
That was actually very, very informational. I think I learned a lot of curious things just even for myself. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your knowledge. And I think you're quite a charismatic interviewee. So thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing.
Hopefully I will not turn red right now. I'm sorry.
You're a little bit now, but that's okay. Well,
yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with you today.
Have a nice evening. Yeah.